This is Whispering in Blue. I thought it would be interesting to tell you a little bit about my family history. And so I'm going to read you a bit about one of my great-great-great-great-grandmothers who lived from 1350 to 1408 in England. Her name was Katherine Swynford. Katherine Swynford was born Catherine de Rowett and was the daughter of a Flemish knight. Catherine de Rowett was educated at a convent in Romsey. When she was 15, Catherine de Rowett left the convent and joined her sister at the English royal court. Philippa de Rowett was a lady-in-waiting to the wife of King Edward III, whose name was Philippa of Hainault. Philippa de Rowett married Geoffrey Chaucer. Catherine was very beautiful and caught the eye of Hugh Swynford, who was a knight in the service of John of Gaunt. Hugh Swynford wanted to marry Catherine de Rowett. It was seen as a great match for Catherine, as Hugh was a distinguished knight and owned a manor at Kettlethorpe, Lincolnshire. However, Catherine de Rowett objected to the marriage. Hugh Swynford was rough and uncouth, a seasoned soldier, but marriages during this medieval period were not based on love. Catherine had no alternative but to marry Hugh Swynford and to move from the royal court to his manor at Kettlethorpe. Catherine and Hugh Swynford had 3 children, Blanche, Thomas, and Margaret Swynford. The manor was very basic, devoid of luxury. Hugh Swynford was often called to arms and fought in some of the many battles, including the Battle of Poitiers of the 100 Years' War, all of which took place in France. In 1369, Katherine Swynford, as the wife of a brave knight, was called to Bolingbroke Castle to serve the wife of John of Gaunt, Blanche. Blanche contracted the Black Death, and Katherine Swynford helped to nurse her until she died, and apparently Catherine was responsible for finding a priest to administer her last rites. Katherine Swynford was invited to attend the funeral of Blanche. It is believed that the affair between Katherine Swynford and John of Gaunt started at this time. Katherine Swynford returned to the manor at Kettlethorpe and had been honored by John of Gaunt. The rewards were for the care shown to the late Duchess and for the Lancastrian children after their mother's death. John gave Katherine Swynford her own blazon, illustrating 3 Catherine wheels. Her blazon was designed, bestowed, and registered by John. I think they're talking about basically like a coat of arms. He also rewarded her as a pension, quote, all issues from and profits from his towns of Waddington and Wellingear to be paid yearly, unquote. Hugh Swynford was recalled to France in 1371, and during this time he died. There were many mysteries surrounding his death, as he died by poisoning. He was believed to have been poisoned by Nirac de Bayen, a faithful servant of John of Gaunt. There is no other connection between John and Catherine and the death of Hugh Swynford, but it did give rise to rumors as John and Catherine's relationship developed. Following the death of Hugh Swynford, Katherine Swynford was recalled to court to be governess of the children of John of Gaunt. Their relationship was happy. They were in love. Katherine Swynford bore John of Gaunt 4 children out of wedlock. Their children at this time were referred to as the Beaufort bastards. The names of their children were John, Henry, Thomas, and Joan. This was a turbulent and dangerous time in the medieval era. The terrible Black Death had ravaged the country since its deadly arrival in 1348. It changed the lives of the English people forever. About 1/3 of the English population died. Labor became valued, changing the status of the peasants and the serfs. This ultimately led to the Peasants' Revolt in 13 The chroniclers at St. Albans and St. Mary's Abbey, York, described Katherine Swynford as, quote, a witch and a whore, unquote, and a, quote, she-devil and enchantress, unquote. Not very flattering. Their parting was not on friendly terms. Katherine Swynford returned to the manor at Kettlethorpe as the lady of the manor, and would have been expected to undertake all of the duties that would have been undertaken by her husband. Her life was very busy, needless to say. In June 1394, the second wife of John of Gaunt, Constance of Castile, died. John and Catherine were reunited, and John asked Catherine to marry him. Katherine Swynford married John of Gaunt on the 13th of January 1396 in Lincoln Cathedral, and took the title of the Duchess of Lancaster. Their children were all legitimized. Yay! They lived together for 3 years until John of Gaunt died. During this time, Katherine Swynford was effectively the First Lady in England, a queen in all but name. After John's death, Catherine returned to Kettlethorpe and Lincoln, where she died on May 10th, 1403. Her tomb is in Lincoln Cathedral. This woman of humble birth became the ancestor of the Tudors and the greatest kings and queens of England. The really interesting thing about her is their son, John, was the great